What's up everyone? Today I'm going to do an unboxing and review of the Sapphire Radeon R7 260X. This thing comes in right around $110 to $130 and it's pretty decent value for money, especially if you're building a budget rig like I did with this thing. It comes in a nice little box, it's nice and glossy. You can see one side, you can see the requirements for 500 watt power supply. You need at least one 6-pin adapter if you're going to use this card. The back just shows you some of the features of it. You get true audio, triple monitor setup, etc. You can see box is made with recycled paper. That's always a good thing. The box says that this is the overclock edition. It's actually not. It's just a regular R7260X. It's not the overclock edition. I don't know why they print that on the box. Just trying to get it out here. There we go. Box wise, it's nothing fancy. See, nice little brown box. It's sturdy, so it won't damage the card during shipping. There, that's the inside of the box. You've got your driver CD on top. In case you don't have access to the internet, you can pop on some Sapphire drivers. You get a sweet little holographic sticker. Everyone knows that these add 10% to your frames per second if you stick them on your case. There's a CD, just some basic drivers like I said. So I'll put that back. Get in there. Come on. Get what? Get. Seriously. Alright, come on now. This is getting a little ridiculous. Come on. Get in there. Yeah. Success. Took forever. Put sticker aside. Put the CD aside. That's a little card, I guess. You call it a business card you get with the card. Shows Sapphire's address on it. You also get this nifty little manual with it. Just shows you some installation instructions, different languages. You get a little Sapphire promo flyer with the card. It's alright. There we go. Nice little thing to have. I don't know if you want to read that. I'm way too lazy. You can pause the video and skim through that. I guess you can get some Sapphire rewards, something like that from the card. You also get a power to 6-pin adapter with this card in case your power supply does not come with a 6-pin plug, because this card does need a 6-pin plug to work. It actually draws quite a bit of power compared to other cards. You get a little DVI adapter right here in case you're hooking this thing up to an old monitor. You just pop down the end of your card, stick your monitor on the other end, and you're good to go. That's always good. I didn't even know they include these anymore, but it's always good to have. There you go. And that's the anti-static bag that the card is kept in. And it just shows you, tells you to plug the card in to the power supply, plug the 6-pin adapter in to the power supply, and stick the card in your PCI Express slot. There it is. And that's the Sapphire R7 260X. It's a nice little small card. I think it's just over 6 inches long by looking at it here. You actually get quite a beefy heatsink with this thing. I was pretty impressed by the size of the heatsink. Now, you don't get any active RAM cooling except the fan that blows on it, but you get a nice solid copper core on the heatsink. You can see the back of the card here. You can see that 6-pin adapter that you need to plug in to run this card. This is the top of it. You can see the heatsink again. The back of it, it's made out of nice black PCB. Actually feels pretty nice to hold. There you've got the PCI Express slot at the bottom, and you've got the Crossfire bridge at the top. This card does come with Crossfire. This card does come Crossfire ready, but it does not come with a Crossfire bridge. You'll have to buy that separately. And you'll also see that this card only has 3 display outs. So you get one regular display out, one HDMI out, and one DVI out. Other than that, it's a pretty decent little card for the money, and it's great if you're building a budget gaming rig. So now, let's pop this in my computer and get on to some benchmarks. For the test system, I'm using an AMD FX 6300 CPU clocked at 5 GHz, 8 GB of G.Skill Ripjaws X, which is clocked at DDR1704 with timings of 99924. I'm using them with an Asus M5A97R 2.0 motherboard, and everything's being powered by a 500 watt EVGA power supply. I'm running Windows 8 64-bit, and I'm using the latest Catalyst 14.4 drivers. So I'm running two sets of benchmarks. I'm going to run the Sapphire R7 260X at stock speeds, which is a 1050 core and a 1500 memory. And I'm going to also run the benchmarks at an overclock speed of 1150 on the core and 1725 megahertz on the memory. I was able to overclock the card a little more. I got the core to about 1175 or 1180 megahertz and the memory to about just under 1800 megahertz. I was able to run at that speed for benchmarking, but it definitely wasn't 100% stable. The overclock that I'm running for these benchmarks was 100% stable, and I played quite a few games at that speed and never had a problem with it. So let's go see the benchmarks. In 3D Mark Firestrike, we got a stock score of just over 3,500 points and an overclocked score of just over 3,900 points. So it was right around a 10% increase from our overclock in this benchmark. The same is true for Unigene's Heaven 4.0 benchmark. I ran it at 1600 by 900 on Ultra, and the stock score was 22.6 frames a second, whereas the overclock score came in at 24.1 frames a second. Again, right around 10% faster. Then again, in Sleeping Dogs, with everything set on high, we got a score of 31.7 frames per second at stock speed and 35.3 frames per second when the card was overclocked. In Sniper Elite V2, we came in at just under 30 frames a second at stock speeds and just over 32 frames a second when we overclocked the video card. In Crysis 3, our stock frame rate was 37.4 frames per second and our overclocked frame rate was 41 frames per second. It was a nice little boost. In Trine 2, we got a stock frame rate of 43.0 frames per second and our overclocked frame rates came in at 47.4 frames a second. So this game was very playable even on max. And finally, in BioShock Infinite, our stock frame rates came in at 44.5 frames a second and our overclocked frame rates came in just a hair under 50 frames per second. So now let's look at the pros and cons of this card. The pros, for one, are it's cheap. It's really cheap and it's great value for money. You can pick it up for around $109 on Newegg.com. Plus, you get 2 free games with it right now. So you get a very good card for $110 and 2 free games. The card runs very quiet. That big fan over the heatsink keeps the card at a half decent temperature, and I don't think it ever spun up past 50% even under full load. It overclocks very well. All benchmarks showed a nice little 10% increase from the overclock. And like I said earlier, it's actually very, very good value for money, especially if you're looking for a good budget card that will play almost all games on high. The cons I found with this card is the biggest one for me was that it runs very hot even at stock speeds. I think the heatsink and fan are a little bit underpowered for what this card puts out. At stock speed, this card was running at about 70 to 72 degrees Celsius with the fan even at 100%. Overclocked with the fan at 100%, the card ran at about 72 to 73 degrees Celsius. It might not bother some people, but for me, that's just a little too hot. You do need a 6-pin power connector. Sapphire supplies one with the card in the box, and it is recommended that you have at least a 500 watt power supply to power this card. Like I said, the 6-pin power connector, it's not a deal breaker by any means, but there are some other options available that draw less power for around the same price. Finally, the last thing that I noticed was that this video card bottlenecks more powerful systems quite heavily. I know it's a budget video card, so if you're running a powerful system or a heavily overclocked system, I would suggest going with at least an R9 270, just because you'll get much more performance out of it than you would with this card. I'll be putting up a video in a little while showing the difference between this card and an R9 270 and an R9 270X in the same system, and you'll be able to see what the difference is in frame rates and performance when this card compares to its big brothers. And then you can judge for yourself which is better for you. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and a favorite. It's always appreciated. See you next time. Bye.